Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to be talking about that term that people go, ew, at, right? Sales. But we're going to have so much fun discussing this. And folks, you are a salesperson, whether you like it or not, especially if you own your own business or are senior management. Shoot, even if you're the mailroom or the janitor, you are a salesperson. And you're also the salesperson in, your home life, your volunteer life, all of these various things. And so please join me in welcoming Drew Norton to our program today. Welcome, Drew. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks, Deb. Excited to have a conversation with you today.
Cool. Well, let me tell people just a little bit more about you, and then we'll jump into this. Drew Norton, known as the Everyday Sales Leader, is a dynamic self-development coach, sales consultant, and co-host of the Everyday Leader podcast. With a background spanning sales, hiring, recruiting, leadership, and training across diverse industries, he's a seasoned expert in cultivating individual and organizational success. Oh my gosh, it's one of the shortest bios that I've had in quite a long time, but we know that there's a lot more to you. So first of all, again, welcome to the program.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I always like to ask this, and I know it's cliche, but I know also that people want to know this, how it is that you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I have had a background in sales for over a decade. And I guess really it started, I served a mission for my church and Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I went and knocked doors and did that for a while. And I think if I hadn't done that, I don't know if I would have ever been open to getting into sales.
Okay,
I've always viewed myself as an introvert.
But that was such a positive way that you were reaching out to people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And had friends that got into sales and invited / recruited me to come do that with them. And I'd always, like we were talking before the show about the small towns we grew up in. I grew up working on farms and at the dairy and doing a lot of hard work, hard labor. And I realized in sales that once I started doing sales, if I work harder, I can make more. Like I can kind of control my paycheck. And as a young college kid, that was really exciting to know if I work twice as hard, I can make twice as much.
Right.
And so that got me into sales, led me starting to lead and build sales teams. And I went through several different types of industries, spent some time in insurance and financial services, some time in different trades and construction services, and also in high ticket and business coaching and sales. So that's where it all started for me. I used to do anything and everything but admit I was a salesperson.
Right. Because we all go, ew, sales.
Yeah. Yep. So I really resonate with that. And when you said that, and for a long time, I wouldn't admit that that's what I did. It was come up with another name or title or for what I was doing. And over time, I recognized, hey, I can sell to people without being pushy, without twisting their arms, without doing things in a way that doesn't feel good. Like you can sell and do good things for people.
Right.
And I used to also think that it was just my hard work and hard effort. And one organization I worked for several years, I became the top sales rep. We had over 100 sales reps in the company, had a lot of success. My teams were really good. And then I started to think, maybe I'm good at sales too. Maybe it's not just hard work. Like, and because I was an introvert, I always thought, this is something not natural. This is not something I'm good at. And I just started to see like, hey, if I put in the effort, if you put in the work, sales is something you can learn and it can really bless people's lives at the same time.
Right. And I was only half joking at the start when I said that we're all in sales, and we truly are. And I love this on your website. I'm going to read this directly from your website. Selling is a form of leadership. When you believe in yourself, your product, or your service, paired with what you say and how you say it can be transformational for yourself, your employees, and your clients. And I love that it is part of being a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've found another thing I like to say is sales is life. I've found you can't get better at sales and not see it improve in every area of your life. And if you're a leader, you're often selling your team, you're selling your family, or you're helping people see what's possible and encouraging them to do bigger and better things. And so I do believe, kind of on the flip side, just because you're good at sales doesn't necessarily make you a good leader.
Right.
And I believe the ability to the ability to lead is and the ability to sell, they're closely related.
Right. And it's funny when you start thinking about how much we use sales all the time. We do, right? You're a salesman when you're convincing your kids that they need to finish their homework and eat their vegetables. When you're volunteering, you are, as you did, you were talking with other people, but a lot of times you might be the leader of whatever that volunteer group is. So you're convincing them to help you to do projects. And then of course, you're trying to convince people to work with you in whatever the capacity is of that organization. And even if you're not the true leader with the title of president, director, whatever it is in a business, you're still using sales all the time. And I loved on your website, you talked about, you had this great thought process on sales and you were doing very well. And then you had a tragedy, and how it wasn't a tragedy. I take that back. You had a circumstance that happened. And you used your sales training to get through that. So tell us a little bit more about that, because again, it was I hate to call it an opportunity because there was something that happened, but you did turn it toward a positive.
Yeah, so the background on that, I had recently changed sales career or sales industries, and I decided, because of the industry I changed into, I went from salary and commission to all commission. I'd done that before. And
boy, you got to push hard when you're all commission.
Right. We were also, the market I was working in was 2 hours from my home, and we weren't 100%. Hey, do we move? Do we stay? Is this going to be the right fit? So I'd got an apartment. And so part of that was like, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to leave my family for several days a week, like this is going to work, and I'm going to make sure. So I probably had been in a little bit of a rut personally, and it started getting back into self-development. And as part of that, doubled down on sales training and studying for myself. And so I probably invested more time in studying sales than I ever had, even though I'd been doing sales a long time up to this point. One day coming home from work, my wife would sometimes bring our little kids out to the apartment. And then, so sometimes she'd come out and visit, and then we'd go home together. So I called her and said, hey, I'm going to be home in 15 minutes. Let's get the kids ready to go, and we can head back to our home. And so when I pulled into the apartment complex, I could hear sirens going. I opened the door, and my wife's sitting there over our 6-month son, crying. He was barely breathing. He was wheezing. I could tell something was wrong. And the paramedics, it seemed like seconds.
Everybody got there.
They were rushing, literally rushed in. It felt like right behind me. My wife had done CPR. She found him limping gray, not breathing in his pack and play. Ultimately, she saved his life. I could probably spend an hour sharing details about this story. We believe there are some miracles as part of this.
Right. And some angels that were helping her, all sorts of, right.
And she she saved his life. He was rushed to
Mm-hmm.
the hospital. He was misdiagnosed with a heart condition
Mm.
that for the next 6 or 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
because of this misdiagnosis, my wife was worried we're going to lose our little boy at any
Right.
moment.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So no mother should have to go
No.
through that difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
And we, at the same time, very grateful, as you alluded to,
Mm-hmm.
that it didn't end in
Mm-hmm.
tragedy. But it was probably a year and a half or 2 years before she felt back to normal,
Mm-hmm.
through therapy, through
Mm-hmm.
prayer. That was a big part of it. But back to your question,
Mm-hmm.
what I realized is a lot of the conversations we had, I did a better job than I ever had at, one, listening
Mm-hmm.
to her,
Mm-hmm.
and two, helping her kind of talk through what she was
Right.
feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and
Talk
figure
about
out,
the challenges she was facing is maybe the
right,
easiest way. Mm-hmm.
yeah, the thoughts that were in her head, articulating those
Mm-hmm.
things, reframing some of
Mm-hmm.
those things, some of the beliefs that had come into her
Mm-hmm.
mind that simply weren't true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't even realize this at the time. At the time, I thought that I'd taken that job to make more money and for the opportunities. And looking back, I now believe that I wasn't the husband or the father my family needed,
Mm-hmm.
before.
Mm-hmm.
And that change and that
Mm-hmm.
going through and developing myself in sales
Mm-hmm.
helped us get through
Mm-hmm.
that difficult time. And
Right.
so there are a lot of things that made things get better for
Mm-hmm.
her. So I don't take all the credit, and
Mm-hmm.
I see,
And he got better. I mean, that was the most important thing.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
most important, he's a happy 7-year-old boy
Mm-hmm.
that's doing having fun every day,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
no problem since. Uh, and so what that taught me, though, is that, hey, the ability to communicate, the ability to help
Mm-hmm.
people ask questions, the ability
Mm-hmm.
to listen, the ability to help people discover
Mm-hmm.
their thoughts and feelings and what they
Mm-hmm.
mean, like that, there's so much value in that, and it
Right.
applies in every,
Mm-hmm.
it can help you in every aspect of your life. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I like to say sales is life.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and to me, sales and marketing, they might be different, but they're very closely tied together. But they're about solving someone's problem. A lot of times we hear them say, solving someone's pain. And I don't always like to think about that as a negative. I like to think about how can we bring them pleasure, and help them in their lives. And of course, then we also know that sales, more than anything, is about building relationships. We're not going to spend money with somebody we don't trust. And right. So that's kind of that whole thing, is developing that relationship with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I used to believe that the trust came from, building rapport and the getting to know you. And there's, those things are great. I'd rather do business with someone I like and respect. What I also found is what often builds the most rapport, if you're in sales or if you're a leader, is the questions you ask.
Right.
Like being able to ask questions that make people go, "Oh, I haven't thought of that before." Or never, that help you see as an expert. The best analogy I can give is if it's like if you go to the doctor and you have a problem and you tell him, "Hey, my back hurts really bad," and instead of asking you about your back, he starts asking you questions like, well, when you get up in the morning, do you feel pain in your foot when you first step out? Do you notice all this? And he starts describing all these things that may sound unrelated, but you're like, oh yeah, he knows everything about
it. Yeah, that does tie together.
And so I think a good salesperson will help people discover the real problem, because oftentimes clients, prospects, they're focused on the symptom and not the problem.
Right.
And so being able to communicate effectively helps with that. And so when I was early in sales, I thought, hey, it's all about my closing line. It's all about how I craft the last thing I say after I explain how great my product is. And I really come to believe that sales is helping people discover it for themselves through asking good questions, through listening.
Right. And listening is the absolute key. You mentioned that you listened to your wife, and listening to that customer. And it might be that you discover you don't have what they
Absolutely.
need. But that's okay. I mean, yeah, you might sell it to them, but are you going to feel good about it? Right. But I love that you talk about listening, because, back to making faces when we talk about sales, right? I think the first thing that we all think about is that used car salesman, right? Who's going to sell us the car no matter what. And many years ago, I was in the market for a new car, and it was my vehicle, not my husband's. He was there with me, but this was what I was going to drive, all that various stuff. And so we go into the dealership. This, salesman greets us both and then acts like I don't exist. And my husband kept saying, it's her car. It's her car. Ask her these questions. I'm just kind of here. And at one point, he actually tells me, honey, what color do you want? And I think I said blue because I ended up with blue. But and that was the only question he asked me the entire time. He could have been giving me a vehicle and I would not have taken it, because he couldn't have cared less about what I wanted, what I needed, that I even existed. And, because he was not listening to what we were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think most people have, and where that ickiness comes from when people talk about sales, is they've been in those type of experiences. I feel bad for the car salesman because I love my used car salesman, but
I had another one after that, I bought multiple vehicles from him. And he was just a good dude. I mean, that was probably the easiest way to explain it. But, and he would, and, it was always me and Tom that would go in, and he would greet Tom, but then he'd talk to me.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I mean, he got it. But I think when we do think about somebody who has gotten us to do something, I'm not even going to say got us to spend money, but gotten us to do something, they're selling whatever it is to us. And what was our feeling? And we certainly don't ever want to think we were talked into it, because then it doesn't matter what it is. We don't like it in the long run.
Yeah, no, in fact, it's interesting. I've started doing some work with another, I don't want to call him a sales trainer, but that's part of what he does. His name is Russell Gray. He's well known in the real estate space. And he talks about this idea that the heart places the order and the brain looks to serve that. So the idea, like, we often make decisions emotionally, and then our brain will justify why we should do that. And if you haven't made that emotional decision, your brain usually looks to do the opposite.
It's going to find some reason to say no.
I'm not going to buy this because I've got to find what's wrong until your heart's made an emotional decision. I love that framing of it. I think it helped, and you can see it. Like, how many times have you bought something or done something, and then immediately you justify all the reasons,
right?
Whether it was a good purchase or not. When you do it and you are excited about it, you'll find a way to do it, or you'll find a reason that makes sense for yourself.
Or think about how you tell others about it. Oh my gosh, I just bought this widget that does this and this and this and this, and you're very excited about it. They might go, ooh. But it's how do you feel about it after it's done?
Yeah. And I found the best way to help, whether it's selling your product or service, whether it's leading a team, it's like, if we can ask questions that lead people to kind of discover and draw their own conclusions and bring out those emotions themselves, it's way more powerful than talking them into do it, twisting them, convincing them. Because on the flip side, when that person's happy, they're telling everyone. When they're not, they're saying, yeah, this con man talked me into buying this.
Right. Or don't ever go there because.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of businesses don't understand, like I said, I joked at the start about everybody is in sales, but they are. I mean, think about when you walk into a business, are you greeted? Are you, does somebody offer to help you? If you're wandering around lost, does somebody say, can I help you? All of those things, those are sales opportunities, and I mean, let's face it, company like Walmart gets it, right? They've got the greeters and those, but hi, how are you? Or there's I don't know if you have them in Arizona, but we have Moe's, which is a Mexican restaurant. And when you walk in, they all scream, "Welcome to Moe's!" Scares you half to death. But it does kind of make you feel acknowledged, right? And certainly welcomed. And then you've always got the one person who wasn't paying attention, and later on they say, "Oh, welcome to Moe's." But just to have somebody acknowledge that they're glad you're there is going to give a little bit more incentive for you to want to deal with them. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny. And this has become my pet peeve. It wasn't early on. I hear business owners say, well, I don't do sales, or I'm not in sales, or we don't sell anything here.
We don't sell anything. I love it when they say that. And I'm like, you don't? How do you make money?
Yeah, I had a client that so part of what I do if I work with someone, and there's a couple ways I work with people, but often with when it comes to sales training, I've found it's sometimes we focus so much on what you say and how you say it, and those are definitely important. Often we don't spend enough time focusing on what we think about sales, or how we feel about it. And so often I kind of start with mindset with people. And I had a client that he told me he was raising money in real estate. And we told us, so he would raise money with the investors to go buy large apartment buildings. Okay. And his dad, when he first told his dad he was getting into this, his dad says, "Oh, it sounds like you're doing a hustle." Like, and so that was in the back of his mind the whole time.
Because like, then it's a scam.
Yeah. Like people are going to think I'm scamming them for money, or I can't ask them to make an investment because how are they going to perceive me? And so as we talked through those limitations, I found the way that you change what you think is you start to change how you talk. And so as we worked through some of his limiting beliefs, he started to replace what his thoughts were previously with this idea that selling is noble. And he came up with that, not me. And I've stolen that from him. And so to me, sales is noble. And if I have a product or service that would benefit and transform and change someone's life, I believe you have a moral obligation to sell that to them. Once you know that, if you would, like your point earlier, if you don't, you tell them, "Hey, I'm not the one to help you," and point them in another direction, or still be valuable to someone. And I think it's a noble thing to help someone move through the fear that they have to do something that's life-changing, especially if your product or service does that for them.
Right. And I was thinking about, we start this process in many cases when we're little, when we're really young, right? I was probably 9-ish when I went out to sell Girl Scout cookies. And, and all these, whether it was that you had a lemonade stand or all these various things, we started selling at a very young age. I had a guest who was talking about the fact, this is one of those, he decided he needed money. And so he had a garage sale without his mother's permission. And he sold almost everything because he had, like a microwave with $1 on it or whatever. And she made him go get everything back. But we start young learning this process. And one of my biggest pet peeves in the world is whether it's Girl Scout cookies or magazines, right? Do they even sell magazines anymore? I don't know. But yeah, your child is doing that, and the parent is who is selling it. And I remember one time I was working for a small marketing firm, and we were at our staff meeting, and the owner, who he's the owner, he's got a lot of influence over us. He gets out his kids' sales form. Now, I expect all of you to place an order. And I went, nope. And everybody looked at me because, of course, they've all just been, and I said, if you have him call me and explain what he's making, what he's raising the funds for, all of these various things, I will be more than happy to order multiple whatevers. I think it was magazines. And I said, but you are teaching him nothing by doing the work for him. Darn near got myself fired. But I firmly believe that. And so like when I see like the Girl Scouts selling cookies at the grocery store, or Boy Scouts sell popcorn there, right? All those various things, I always stop and I'm always going to buy from them, right? And because, bless them for doing that. But why are you raising the money? What are you going to do with it? Oh, you've got a new whatever. Tell me a little bit more about that. Now, I ask age appropriate questions and all those things. But they're learning, first of all, they're learning how to interact with adults. But more importantly, they are learning the importance of sales. And if they just tell me, I don't know, we're just raising money. Okay, well, that's not their fault. But yeah, we can teach our children at a very early age a much better way to be doing this.
Yeah, and the great thing for kids is they have the cute factor going for
Oh,
them.
I know. I'm never going to tell a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout that I'm not buying cookies or popcorn. Because you almost get the quivery lip, right? Oh, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. Now I might kind of skirt around or go in a different door, right? But it is learning, and maybe that's part of kind of learning to take advantage of what you've got, and because it's a very important tool, and as I said, we use it all the time. Even if we're just convincing our kids to load the dishwasher, there's some factor of sales technique that is in there.
Yeah, it made me chuckle at the beginning when you talked about your selling, when you talk to your kids about eating their vegetables. I use that analogy all the time. It's like you're constantly looking to influence other people, and it's a part of every area of life.
Right. And I think maybe one of the negatives thought process that we go through is we're convincing someone to do something they don't want to do.
Right.
And so it might be, hey, we've got this big work project and we're going to have to work overtime. Well, they don't want to do that. Now, maybe they get paid overtime, maybe there's bonuses, all these various things. But how can we turn that into a positive as opposed to they don't want to do this? Because it's like you said, the questions and the way we try to present it are totally different if it's a negative as opposed to a positive.
Yeah, and I think using that example in particular, I've found there's a lot of times I'm willing to do things that maybe wouldn't be my first choice if there's a bigger vision, or if there's a big greater purpose behind it. So, if I'm at an organization where, hey, we're doing things because this is the end goal,
right?
And the reason we have to do some of these not so fun things is it helps us serve people and get here. I'm way more willing to say, okay, I will do something uncomfortable or something I don't want to do. If not, and you're not leading people that way, you tend to start managing them. And I find people, when they aren't aligned with the values of the organization, they don't last long.
Right. And you have, one of the sayings that you have that goes along with that is belong more, believe more, become more. So expand on that.
Yeah. One of my really good friends, he's a co-host on our podcast. He's helped me open my eyes to see the importance of alignment and culture. And his name is Matt. In fact, I'm going to give him a plug. He has an AI company called Higher Aligned. It's all about screening people to culture instead of based on, do they fit? Do they belong here? So some of the work I've seen him do, and then some of the work I've seen with teams is when we feel like we belong somewhere, it is easier to believe in the mission. It is easier to do those hard things. And I think when you belong somewhere and you believe in something, you can become a better version of yourself. And I think sometimes as business owners and entrepreneurs, we think our people, maybe not everyone, but my experience is a lot of times the anxiety and stress is like, am I paying them enough? Are they getting enough benefits? And while pay and benefits are important, I've also found, I think more than ever, people want to be a part of something, and they want to belong somewhere. And for myself and for others, I've seen people will stay way longer than they ever thought if they're in alignment with the visions and values of an organization.
Right. And when we look at the various lists, whether it's a business journal or Forbes or whatever, about the happiest companies to work for, frequently on that list is not pay.
Right.
Now, they're not volunteering. You have to pay them and you have to pay them fairly, and all of those things. But maybe, I think in many, they do want to know that what they are doing is making a difference. Yeah, maybe all they're doing is building widgets. But what does that widget do? Is that widget allowing somebody to plant a field of corn that then is going to feed, all those various things? And so it comes back to, like, back to being a parent. Now, I'm not a parent, see, so I have all these things, right? Just telling your kid to do it because I said so doesn't work when you're telling a 6-year-old, and it doesn't work when you're telling an employee. They might do it, but they're not going to do maybe the best possible job they could, because it's not like, right?
And your 6-year-old, he may not be able to leave for 12 years, but your employee sure could leave.
Right.
Pretty quick.
And it's funny because they talk a lot about Gen Z and Gen X, and all of these are looking for these things. No, I'm a baby boomer. I looked for that too. I wanted to know that the companies that I worked for made a difference, and I still do. What is their mission? What are, all of those things, and even just little things. It's funny how some things just strike you, right? Do they recycle? Do they, do they give back to their community? I worked for a very large company. When I worked there, they were the seventh largest corporation in the world. And we had a huge philanthropic budget. And it was very important to our employees, but we also made sure that we got the input from our employees as to where that money was going to go. Did we do it all the time? No. I mean, because there really was not unlimited funds, but we did try and do it as much as we could. So if they said, hey, we value education, we value healthcare, whatever it was, we would go for those. And, and yeah, I mean, and I think one of the big things now that a lot of people are looking for is, of course, flexible schedules. Can they work from home? All of those things. And so when companies are like, no, you must come back in, they're not taking into account the benefits that people got from working from home, and and more importantly, how important they thought it was.
Yeah, I think one of the good things that came from COVID is, I think people realized, oh, I can do more work that's not tied to a physical location 40 hours a week. And things still operate and run.
Right. How many times do we talk to people and they said, I'm doing more and spending less time?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that so many benefits are when you've got people standing around the coffee maker talking, and, or able to just pop into somebody's office, all of those various things, but you can still kind of do those virtually, but I was talking with somebody during COVID, and he said one of his employees, and he found this a benefit but he said, it took him a while to get used to it. His employee works best after 10 o'clock at night. And, he had a family, he had all sorts of stuff that he did during the day, but then when it got later, he could 100% dedicate to his work. And he said, as long as I tell him every Monday morning, we have a 9 a.m. meeting and you have to attend that. He said, otherwise, I let him go with it because he's doing better work. And it's funny because I was just thinking from a sales perspective, who was selling that? Was the employee selling him or was the manager? And I think it's both, right?
Yeah. I was leading teams at an insurance agency for several years. And my boss always told me, if we hit our numbers, I don't care how you do it and how much you're here. And
right.
Yeah. So I think there's ways, you can empower people, and it doesn't have to be the traditional 9 to 5. And I think obviously there's some benefits to some things being in person, and some things out of necessity have to be done that way.
Right.
And there's more and more ways not to. So,
right. And what I love is that, you don't even have to be in the same city or whatever. And my VA for this program is in New Jersey. Now, she was with me before COVID. So, but yeah, we've never met in person, but we work very well together. And so I think, there are ways for us to learn how to do everything. Now, obviously, there are times where you have to be in a physical location,
right.
but how can we adapt? And so that, yeah, it comes back to that employee. They put their sales hat on, and they're going to sell their manager on why they want to work virtually. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But and then the manager has to, be talking about, well, it's important for you to be in, and all those various things. So and I think maybe that is the other thing with successful sales is it is kind of a give and take, right? If it's not 100% one, and nothing to the other.
Yeah, and I've found that one of the big challenges businesses face isn't just the business owner and how they feel about sales. Sometimes that is a big issue. A lot of times it's building those sales teams or finding good salespeople or hiring good salespeople. Because I will admit, as a salesperson, we're a little bit different than the typical employee or the typical.
But I love that you're an introvert, because I would think an extrovert, but an extrovert might be two, right?
Yeah. Well, and there, I think there's extroverts that are great at sales and introverts that are great at sales. What I found often for salespeople outside of alignment, as we were talking about earlier, is you have to understand that good salespeople typically want some type of carrot to chase. Now, some of it might be the financial, and that's often why you structure.
But maybe it's an extra day off, or
right.
I mean, so Mary Kay had it right when she gave cars, right?
The pink cars.
The pink caddies.
Yeah. No, I had the last organization I worked with before I started coaching and consulting, they had an incentive for a vehicle for a Tesla. That was a very fun incentive, and it was a cool thing to earn. And it made, I joked with the leaders then. I said, your stupid incentive made me work harder to get this car.
Right.
It worked. And to that point, I think it's not just the money. It's not just the trips. It's not just the days off. It's also, is there a path for leadership? Is there a path for growth? Is there a path for them to, because the other challenge with sales is it can be very, and it sometimes depends on what you're selling, but often it's very repetitive. Very
right. You're selling the same widget every day.
And so creating something in your organization whether that's, a path for growth, a path for continuous improvement, salespeople really care about those things. And I think it's important that if you have salespeople, hey, are we giving them carrots, so to speak? And it doesn't have to be just money. Are we providing leadership opportunities? Are we providing continuous training and improvement so they feel like they're growing? I've just found that with salespeople, they're often motivated just to always get better.
Right. And you talked about, you did that yourself. You were continually learning.
Yeah. And honestly, often when I left a place, it was because I felt like I'd reached a ceiling, that I couldn't see the growth opportunities anymore. And that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it can be good for someone to go on.
Right. And someone else to move up.
Right. And I've seen that, and I've recognized, like, hey, if I want to build a place that people will stay, I need to know what their goals and dreams are. And we help them reach that here.
Right. And I love working with businesses that have long-term employees. I in my other life, I do dog shows. I know it sounds very strange, right? But we put on big dog shows, and so we hire entire hotels and things like that. And so I was the person in charge of doing all this. And I was at a hotel doing a site visit, and I'm in the restaurant because, we're going to feed people. So what the heck is their food like, and things like that. And one of the employees, and they knew why I was there, it was not a secret shopper or anything like that. She had been with the hotel since and she's in the restaurant. So, but she said, I've been here since the day they opened. And, and she said, they treat me well.
Yeah.
That said it right there. And then the other thing, is, I had over the course of 6 years, the same sales guy, and he's still there. Yeah. And you don't see that in hotel sales. I was dealing with another property, and over the course of 6 months, I had 3 different salespeople, and each time they wanted to renegotiate the contract. And the third time I said, I'm done. But it comes back to exactly what you were saying. How are you treating your people? Do they want to stay there? And the lady in the restaurant, she said, yeah, I've got a really flexible schedule. I'm able to go to every one of my kids' events. It means I work at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I'm able to go to every single one of their after school events. And they made it possible for her to have the life that she wanted. And can you do that with everybody? Well, no, but you can try to do as much as you can.
Yeah. And I think if you can get really clear on your values, your mission, it can help you attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. Because I've seen some, I mean, you could say this about any position, not just sales, but some salespeople who come in an organization, they do really poorly at one place and they go somewhere else and really succeed. Right. And it's often, it's often just the fit. It's often the fit that's the difference. It's not that they were a bad salesperson or terrible at their job. It just was, hey, we weren't aligned, or maybe this wasn't the right product or service for my skill set.
Right. And it is about providing them with the proper tools and training and all of those things. When I got out of college, I did hotel sales. Oh, wow. Most awful job in the world. And I did cold calling exactly like you. I mean, I knocked on doors and I was selling businesses on, renting lots of blocks rooms, having their meetings in our conference center, things like that. I was given nothing, no training, no materials, no anything. I don't even think I lasted 6 months. But if they had given me much better preparation, I think I would have done very well at it. But they just assumed that because I could talk my way out of a paper box, I could go do anything. Right. And there were probably other people who really they created their own materials, whatever it was. But how are you treating your salespeople? And if you are the salesperson, are you doing, do you have the tools that you need? And if not, get them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so good. And if you hire aligned people, you give them the right tools, the right training, the right direction, or if you're, sometimes if you're the startup company, you don't have any of that. And it's saying, hey, we need someone who can come in and is willing to create this and willing to do a challenge. Sometimes I see the problem is an organization, they will go out and they want to hire an experienced salesperson. That experienced salesperson is used to leads coming in, or business person,
and they're used to having it done for them.
And not that that's wrong for the salesperson to be in that shoes, but sometimes if you're the new organization, you're not in a position where you can pay the ad spend to keep their calendar full all day. Where you need someone who's like, hey, I'm willing to go out and hustle and talk and do the calling.
I'll help you set up your CRM, whatever it is. Right.
So just having those things and knowing, hey, is the person and what we're doing is all on alignment.
Right. So one of the other things that you say is want more, serve more. We've been taught we shouldn't ask for more. We shouldn't be greedy, all of those things. And you kind of go about this in a different way.
Yeah. Where this realization came from is there was a period in my life a few years ago where I kept saying I need. I realized I kept saying I need out loud. I just didn't like how I felt as I was
needy.
I felt needy. A great book that talks about this, Benjamin Hardy's, I think it's Who Not How, where he actually gets into this concept.
You're the second person who has referred to that book this month, so I must need to go get it. I need to go get it.
So, it's interesting when you focus on what you need whether you're in sales, in your family, your marriage, your business, that tends to be all you get. If you say, hey, I need to pay my bills this month, you'll likely pay your bills and you'll have
you get just enough.
Yeah. You figure out how to get just enough that there's nothing left over. And so I think there's a space where you can have gratitude, be very happy with where you're at, and still live in abundance. And hey, I'm playing a game to create more for people. And an analogy I like to give, whether you like these two individuals, for me, when I think of the two wealthiest people in the US, there's probably 5 or 6 that could be put on here.
Right. Depending on the day, they go up and down.
It changes every day. The ones that pop in my mind are always Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. And when you kind of think about what they're doing in their mission, whether or not you agree with them or like their company or their politics, that we won't get into that. Elon Musk, for example, what does he want? He wants something so big. He wants to get everybody to Mars.
Right.
Like, whether or not
the geek in me thinks that's okay.
Some people think that's the craziest idea in the world, but look what that's created. It's created Starlink, it's internet accessible anywhere in the world. It's created electric cars. It's created, what's his other businesses? So they're all part of getting people. Solar.
Right.
Solar,
Yeah,
all of it's to like creating an ecosystem that would work on another planet, which at the same time is providing jobs, providing resources. And he wants something so big, it's helping serve so many extra people. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, I still can't believe it's a little bit longer here out in the boonies where I live, but I still can't believe that in some places you can click a link on a website and have almost anything delivered to your door that afternoon, if not the next day or two.
Oh yeah. I live in Atlanta. When they stopped doing 4-hour delivery during COVID, I was like, what the heck?
So once again, it's like, what has he done? He helps people get what they want faster than anybody else. And so I've just come to believe that, hey, it is okay to want things. It is okay to desire things. And if you have the right intentions, it's often going to serve other people when you have a bigger vision and bigger goals. And bigger goals.
Right. And I know that your faith is obviously very important to you and a big part of that, but it's the same philosophy no matter what. How can you be helping others? Right. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And honestly, it's funny because I used to struggle with that. Being a Christian, my dad, I think, he was the ultimate example of humility in my life. In some ways, like to my detriment, like for a long time, I struggled when someone would give me a compliment, I would brush it off or and I found that that's not helpful or useful to me or to them, to others to do that. And sometimes there's this idea of like humility that because we want to be humble, we can't go after things.
Right.
I believe there's a space for both. I believe there's a space for gratitude and a space to want more.
Right. Well, I mean, there is the saying, don't hide your light, right? Don't hide your light under the bushel. And now we're not saying brag, right? But we are saying, and this comes back to sales, right? I can help you because we have this. We're not, now sometimes it might be the greatest product in the world. Yeah. Any more stuff is pretty even, right? But it's the added value. I mean, I'm a big follower of Bob Berg, and one of his things is, if everything is of the same price, things like that, it's the added value that you give that actually makes it. Yeah. And so it's, you're not being the braggart when you're saying, hey, I've got this great product that will help you with whatever it is. Might be something totally frivolous, or maybe it's something that's going to help save lives. But you have to tell them. That's the thing. You have to tell them that it's there.
Yeah. Some coaching I did for myself that really helped me with that was helping me realize, hey, if what I'm the best at, or if what I have really serves them, it allows me to be bold about that. And I can be bold. I can tell somebody,
right.
Hey, I'm the best at this, and it's not bragging if it's true and it helps them. It's like you wouldn't, you wouldn't climb on let's just use an analogy. You wouldn't climb on a small airplane with somebody if they said, "Hey, well, I barely got my license, and the instruments in this plane work okay, and I
we
kind
might
of
have
passed
enough fuel."
right? Like I think we'll get there. Like probably not going to jump on that plane, but if that pilot says, "Hey, I've had the best training in the world. We regularly check our aircraft. And I can assure you, based on the weather conditions, we're going to get you there safe." Like you're going to go with that pilot all day long, and nothing wrong with him saying that.
Right. Yeah, now it does have to be true. I mean, that is the thing. But and I think that's what we have to watch, is when we get carried away, is maybe the easiest way to put it. But yeah, I mean, if what you're saying is true, it is not bragging. It's not, all of those horrible things. It's, it's the truth. And if you really do think you can help somebody, as you said, you owe it to them to let them know that. But it's, if it's like, okay, this isn't going to work for you, then let them know that too.
Yeah. And for me, back to this title of the everyday sales leader, I want to help people with the things I used to struggle with. I used to struggle with the idea, admitting I was in sales. I used to struggle with the idea that I was a leader, or that I could help people. I used to struggle with the idea of putting myself out there. I'm very much naturally introverted. And I don't know where I heard this, but are you looking to do things to bless or impress? And that's the lens.
I love that.
Hey, you know what? I can speak to this if it's going to bless other people's lives. If I'm just trying to impress people, then maybe, at least for me, I'm like, then I'm not going to, it's not a reason to share this or be vocal about it. And so I believe most people have amazing things they can do if they're just willing to be a little bit louder about it.
Right. And that's the thing, I think in many cases we were told, no, don't do that. And so it's okay to be a little bit louder about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So the other thing, and this is like a 5-hour conversation, and we've only got just a couple minutes, is the whole AI thing. AI is going to take over sales. My philosophy is, now I use AI every day. I mean, I love AI. Chat GPT and I have a relationship. I've named it. It flirts with me. But it's what I was saying earlier. It's about relationships. Now, can AI sort through your calls and go, okay, this one might need priority, this one you haven't talked to in a while? Sure. But it's the human that in most cases is really going to. Now, will some things be sold with AI? There is a reason why you log into Amazon and it says, if you consider these products, that's AI, folks. But a person had to tell it to do that. But you're also going to look at it and read the reviews. What did that person say? All of those. And so to me, AI is just a tool that's going to help us do some of these things.
Yeah. And I agree with that completely. I think as AI gets bigger, sales skills, sales ability is going to only become more important. Now, I do believe there's some industries, some products or services, and you mentioned earlier about marketing and sales having a lot of overlap, where the marketing piece might be able to be fully taken over by AI, and you might be able to sell your product or doodad with that and not have a person involved at all. And if it's, relationships, if it's high financial things that are at stake, things that higher ticket items, I think sales is only going to become more important in those industries. And so I think there will be some things that are replaced in sales with AI, and there's a lot of things I don't think can be.
Right. And let's be honest, our BS meters are pretty good. I got 3 things, three, requests to connect on LinkedIn, and I use LinkedIn quite a bit. And all 3 of them, totally different companies, all sorts of stuff, but they were all financial service people. And it was connect and pitch, which that always annoys me. But almost identical wording from what they were doing, which led me to believe, okay, they put it into AI, and AI, because AI is only as good as what's going into it. I mean, it's not going to recreate the wheel. It's going to go with what's already out there. But when I started comparing the messages, I went, these are almost word for word. And then when I turned them all down, I got almost a word for word response. And it wouldn't matter. Again, it wouldn't matter what they were selling me. Nope. They've lost my trust at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of personal and effort can go a long way. Even on a cold DM, taking a minute to look at someone's profile, compliment them. Even if your intention is, hey, I think this is someone I can probably serve or help. Right. It goes a long way.
Right.
So.
Yeah, my favorites are that we can help you reach the top of podcasts. And I'm like, well, I'm already in the top 2%. So what is it that you're going to do that's different? But of course they didn't read it. And it might not even be a real person. But that it does come back to that. If they had said, hey, we see that you're already in the top 2%. Can we get you higher? Okay. Now that I might pay attention to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Oh my gosh, Drew, this has been so much fun. And we need to have you on again, because I think this is very important for people. Like we said, everybody sells. So we need to give them as many tips as we can. But until then, if someone is saying, how do we work with you? How do they find you? And what are the services that you provide?
Yeah. Great. The easiest way to find me is if you look for me on almost any social media platform, The Everyday Sales Leader. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I even have a TikTok, but
for now,
that's not my favorite. You can find me on all of those platforms. Or if I've got a resource, if your listeners would like, if they'll text quiz to 928-928-5985, they can get a quiz that helps them diagnose the state of their sales organization with a guide on how to structure out and build that. It would invite you, if you go through that and you find it and you want to jump on a call with me, you'll have access to that. And I'm pretty easy to find. If you look me up, The Everyday Sales Leader, I'm not hard to get a hold of and connect with.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Well, like I said, we'll have you on again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, just this idea that I brought up earlier, that sales is life. I really truly believe that if you get better at sales, it will positively impact all areas of your life, whether that's financially, whether that's in your relationships, with your children, with your employees, your organization. I've just had so many blessings that have come to me from going down the path of sales, when I never thought I was going to be in that or do that or be a part of that. And I think part of it is like, hey, if you don't like saying you're in sales or a salesperson, it can be just simple as reframing what you call what you're doing. I lean into it. And if you don't want to lean into it, I think if you can view yourself as, hey, I'm the ultimate guide, or I'm a value creator, or I'm a problem solver, like that you're blessing people's life. And if you can get better at helping people work through the fear they have to make changes in their life, like it's only going to bless them and bless you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having so much fun talking with Drew Norton, the Everyday Sales Leader. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.